Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. Lovely Teacher Tori here. For those of you all who do not know, I am a second grade teacher in the state of Alabama, and so today I really wanted to come on here and share with you all how exactly I was able to pass my early childhood praxis on the very first try. Okay, so if you are interested in hearing these tips, if you're getting ready to take the early childhood praxis and you really want to make sure that you are studying the right way and the right material, then stick around. All right, so I have my notes here if you all see me looking down, but the very first tip that I have is to make sure that you utilize the free Praxis study guide that is found on the Praxis website. So again, we are talking about the early childhood praxis. It is test 5025, and when you log onto the Praxis website, you will have the option to select study material, okay? And when you select study material, you will be able to select which test you are studying for exactly. Just make sure that you scroll down to early childhood. Again, it is test 5025, and select that one, and it gives you a free study guide. Now, this free study guide can be downloaded. It can also be printed off, okay? So the way that I use mine, because the way the study guide is set up, it lets you know the basis of the test. It lets you know how many questions are going to be on the test, lets you know what kinds of questions are going to be on the test, and it provides you with a practice test, okay, within that study guide. Now, it's not very long. It's probably about 20 questions or so. But what's amazing about this is that as you flip towards the back of that, and as you get to, the bottom of the study guide, you will see that it also has an answer key. So it is explaining to you how the correct answer is the correct answer. And it also will explain to you why the other answer choices were incorrect. And so I really like that. The way that I would do it is I would go ahead and take the practice test on my own, and then after I got done, I would check my answers with the answer key in the back, study over what it said on how I missed it, okay, give it some time, make sure that my brain has digested the material and the information, and then I would take that practice test again, maybe about 4 or 5 days later on, just to kind of make sure that I still have that material digested that I learned the last time when I took the practice test. So again, that is a free resource that can be found on the Praxis website, okay? It is a free study guide on there that you can download, you can print, and you can use it however much you would like. And it also has, like I said, a breakdown of the test. It lets you know how many questions are going to be on reading comprehension, how many questions are going to be on math, and so on and so forth. So I really, really like that about the free, downloadable, also printable Praxis test that was found on the website. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2. Now, this resource is not free, but it is definitely worth it. So I would definitely recommend that you look into this. Okay, and this is actually a practice test that can be purchased at your time of checkout. So while you're registering for your practice test, once you get to the end of the checkout process, it will ask you if you would like to purchase study materials. So these study materials cost, I want to say about $19.99, about $20, but it is so worth it, you guys. When you make this purchase, you are purchasing practice test, or a practice test that is made by Praxis. And when I say an actual practice test, it has the exact same amount of questions as the actual praxis that you are signing up to take. It is also timed. And like the other practice test I was telling you about, the one that's free, just like that one, with this one, after you get done taking the test, it shows you the ones you got correct along with the ones you got incorrect. And you were able to go in and click on each question and get a breakdown of how you missed it and why. It lets you know what you should have selected. And it also, like the other practice test, tells you why that one was the correct answer and why the other ones were the incorrect answers. So I really like that. And also, you are able to utilize this practice test for up to 90 days, okay? Up to 90 days after your first use. So yes, you have access to that for 3 months after the first time that you access it. So I definitely think that that is a great resource. Like I said, it is going to cost you a little bit more money, about $20 more. But y'all, when I say it is so worth it, it is amazing. And again, because it is made by the creators of praxis, it really gives you that feel of how it's going to go on test day, because again, it is timed and is the exact number of questions. Now, the first resource that I mentioned, it is not the exact same number of questions as the actual test. Okay, it's just kind of like a snippet, like I said, about 20 questions or so. But the one that you have to pay for really, really does get you in the mindset of, I'm really about to take this test. It is very helpful for that. So that is why I love that. All right, the third tip that I have is that when you go in to take the test, really be thinking about real life examples. Okay, oftentimes we get caught up in, okay, but the paper says this, and but the study guide says this. But a lot of those questions, when you really sit down and think about it, they are based off of real life experiences. So some of the examples they're going to be asking you about, you have to really think, okay, if I were in my classroom, how would I go about this? How would I teach this? How would I address this? Okay, because oftentimes, like I said, we get in front of that computer screen and we really overthink what we're really supposed to be doing, you know. And again, with this, the whole purpose of the praxis is to make sure that we are equipped as educators. And we all know as educators, you know, things come up, things change. You might be thinking, oh, I'm going to teach it this way. And then you think, well, maybe it'd be better if I taught it this way. Or I noticed that a student needs more help with this. It's all about that and how you would address those real life scenarios. So just make sure that when you go in there to take your praxis, that you are thinking about it from a real world and a real life standpoint when they are asking you those questions, and you'll do fine. Make sure that you are channeling your inner teacher at that moment when you are taking that test, and give it your all when you sit down to answer those questions. And it will definitely help you out with the test. It will also help, I think, calm those nerves a little bit too when you're taking your test as well. All right, and my fourth tip is to study, but not too much. You all want to make sure that you are taking time to study, but don't let that be the only thing that you do. Of course, we all have things going on outside of, you know, school and the praxis, but make sure that you are incorporating studying into your plan. Okay, if it is your first time taking it, I definitely would say study. I'm not going to say every single day, but if you have time, by all means, study every single day, especially if you're like, well, I'm only going to study for like 20 or 30 minutes a day. But what really helped me was that I studied, I want to say 2 or 3 times out of the week, but when I would study for 45 minutes to an hour. So I would sit down and I would do the practice test on paper, the one that I was able to download and print. I would do the practice test and I would take that, check it with my answers, read why, and by that time, you know, 30, 45 minutes were done. And I say, okay, that's all I'm doing for today. But when I would sit down and take the practice test, because it was so long and because it was timed like the actual test is going to be, once I took that test, that was it for me. I would say, okay, I'm going to leave this screen up, you know, that way I can access it the next day. And the next day I would go back and I would see what I missed and why I missed it. And I would spend an hour just really looking through those questions that I missed to help me understand why. And I will repeat that process. I want to say I started studying 2 months before I was actually scheduled to take the test. And so that's just what I did. I would dedicate 2 to 3 nights out of the week to studying. And like I said, everyone studies different ways. Like I said, some people might take more to, you know, the actual printable that is free to access. And some might decide, you know, they want to go ahead and try out the actual praxis test that they ask you if you want to purchase towards the end of checkout. But you all, whatever you decide to do, make sure that you are still making time for yourself. Make sure that you do not get so consumed with studying that you are not able to do anything else. So just wanted to come on here and encourage you all. I know sometimes we can get frustrated with, you know, the situation and we just want to make sure that we're done, but just make sure that you take your time and that you really do your best. And just want to let you all know that I wish you all success on your journey in education, and make sure that you tune back in and check back in to my channel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.